viewers like you make this program possible.
Alcoholic, womanizer, business mogul, merchant of death, hero. Tony Stark and his science fantasy antics have captured the attention of a generation of rank, sweaty fans, myself included, since the 60s. And at this point, we're over 700 issues deep, but the issue is, as with any piece of serialized fiction that is run, flown, and sometimes, unfortunately, crawled, folks are at a loss of where to begin. Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the original Tales of Suspense run, Superior Iron Man. Well, okay, that was a joke. Let's not get too hasty. The point is, there's a lot of places you could start from. One is the ongoing Iron Man run spearheaded by Joshua Williamson. It's too early to say how this thing is going to pan out, honestly. The run has only completed its first arc. Tony is in the crosshairs of AIM, or at least a cohort of it, under the command of Madame Mask. Iron Man rescues captured award recipients who are kept in torturous seclusion by this Madame Mask-led sliver of AIM. Why they were captured, you may ask? Well, to create a new Iron Man, of course. Pressure makes diamonds taken to the extreme, eh? The art is absolutely fantastic, and despite some criticism I've seen, Tony's new himbo look is in line with that classic machismo vibe that reared its head in the 80s and 90s. The biggest strength and weakness of the run is the fact that it dances the lines of being a, hey, I remember this, slideshow more than an addition to the mythos. Madame Mask, Tinkerer, a Stark apprentice turned evildoer, you get the picture. Plus, in a broader sense, the plot is an unsubtle callback to Tales of Suspense number 39, and the ingredients on what made Tony Iron Man. It feels a lot like a self-referential worship of Iron Man, thus far rather than the character navigating the world and the problems therein. Granted, this is why I think it would be a good entry point for Iron Man, sort of an on-ramp the same way Nick Spencer's Spider-Man was. The twists and turns remain to be seen though. Another way to begin reading Iron Man comics is with the original Tales of Suspense. Needless to say, this has its benefits and drawbacks. A major benefit is that Iron Man at his inception, like most Silver Age superheroes, brimmed with text description and monologuing. It places you inside the character's head, and it really puts the book in comic book. Now, if you're one of those illiterate comic book TikTok ruffians, this can be an annoyance, but I have faith that you, dear viewer, can handle the horror that is digesting words on a page. Beyond that, I think Tales of Suspense is where you see the guy at his most adventurous, whatever. Basically, Iron Man was out and about everywhere. Time traveling to hang out with civilization's OG baddie Cleopatra? Check. Fighting lions and mind control robots disguised as old Homo sapiens and deployed on aliens for world domination? Check. Anything and everything goofy and pulp can be found in Iron Man's earliest outings. Unlike other heroes, key characters in Iron Man's mythos, much like Spider-Man's, are introduced fairly quickly in the original run, with Happy and Pepper making their introductions in issue 45. Iron Man was introduced in issue 39 for reference. Granted, their personalities between the movies and comics are snark, pun intended entirely. Pepper's sarcasm and no-nonsense demeanor is intact, but the romance stuff with Tony is extremely scant in the comics. Her man is happy, and happy in the comics versus the films isn't even fair. One is a fat slob used as comic relief, and the other is a chiseled jaw muscle man, ready to die if it means doing the right thing. Honestly, the character assassination of Happy, or even a broader character history, could consume an entire video, but we'll leave it here for now. Alas, there are some major drawbacks. Iron Man's two foldable feet are lodged firmly in the Cold War, and Tony is an unapologetic brown-noser to the US government's political interests for a long time before finally quitting the weapons manufacturing and parting ways. While the hijinks helped to offset that bitter taste, the character drama and his bickering with S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government, which would define later runs, isn't quite present. Sure, there's Senator Byrd giving him trouble from time to time, but nothing's too substantive. All in all, I think Tales of Suspense suffices if you're willing to overlook the dated Cold War propaganda clunk. A curveball choice, and the one I would personally recommend, is Iron Man: The Iron Age. This two-parter story, which takes us back to the aforementioned Tales of Suspense era, this time from the perspective of first Pepper and then Happy. We learn that Pepper was a merit and, grossly looks, hire for Tony, thanks to her catching a tabulation error in a document. Riveting stuff, I know, but the broader focus is on Tony and how much of an irresponsible weasel he is, or rather was. He womanizes speeches galore, he shrinks his father's desire for him to shape up into the company's heir, and takes zilch seriously. All in all, in character. But the sheer ugliness of his behavior has never been so obvious, even in the 2008 film. I mean, he literally sexually assaults Pepper. Not good, Mr. Stark. But the catastrophe in Vietnam changes him, but not necessarily for the better, at least in the eyes of the folks around him. What this story so masterfully illustrates is how topsy-turvy Tony's behavior is from an outsider's perspective. He starts drinking more, he acts flaky to his ladies of the night, he's impulsively globetrotting. All things presented as normal facts of Tony's life cranked to 100. But in the Iron Age, it's given a new dimension in a way that makes Tony seem like he's, at best, using an Iron Man as an escape from his responsibilities as a magnet, not necessarily for heroism, and at worst just a bizarro thrill seeker. The major change of heart is when Pepper, noticing that the ship is sinking much faster than it was beforehand, invites him to the house of one of his employees, where he briefly meets his family and observes the picket fence life which Stark Industries affords him. Then Pepper, in typical fashion, lays it on thick. She explains that if he kowtows and sells off the company, abandoning his responsibilities, that folks like the employee before him are going to be out of work. Tony is unnerved by this reality check and he scampers away, leaving Pepper to assume the guy's just dodging his responsibilities once more. She prepares to draft a new resume and go job hunting, but discovers him bright-eyed and early in the office as she arrives, actually doing his job as CEO. God damn, this really is a comic book. They then voyage down the troubled waters of corporate espionage, regaining the lost trust and politicking their way up the chain. What Pepper doesn't know, of course, is that Tony is also courting the attention of a saboteur lurking in the shadows, a saboteur who intends to muck up the demonstration Stark set up with Bird as part of his Kanye West-esque apology tour, only to be foiled by the Golden Avenger. The second part of the story follows Happy, but I won't spoil that too much. My pitch why you should read The Iron Age as an introduction to Iron Man is simple. It gives depth where there previously wasn't any. Tony shrinks responsibility even as Iron Man, and is starting to develop a drinking habit. He's a womanizer in the worst way, going as far as to violate consent. He keeps weapons manufacturing afloat, not just out of a patronage or patriotism, but out of obligation to keep the company solvent and his workers employed. It's Tony Stark at his worst and best, but you know, that's just my 2 cents, of course. I think where to start of these 3 comes generally down to preference, and honestly, you can engage with all 3 and come out fine. If you want to jump straight in and learn lore as you go, while also not being lost in the process, then the current Iron Man run fits the criteria swimmingly. If you want something with more depth that still introduces the core tenets of Stark's world and character all the while, then go with the Iron Age. If you want to be a purist and start from complete scratch, working your way up the chronology, then begin with Tales of Suspense. And after you've made it to about issue 50, double back and read the Iron Age, then keep going in order until you reach Invincible Iron Man, and then from there, well, keep reading. The initial issues take a while to find their footing, but I would say issue 30, the gears really start to turn for Invincible Iron Man. Whatever the case may be for you, I hope you give Shellhead a chance. He's quite the guy. He has a heart of steel, one might say. A cool exec too.
Viewers like you make this program possible.